Alright, we're driving her now. Thing fired right up this morning. I definitely think the timing actually did slip. So I'm gonna go today and take care of the timing and whatnot. And it's 32 degrees. It actually fired right up, but there is one spot where the coolant's leaking, which I already bought a cap for it. I just haven't had time to put it on. And the oil drain. So I need to go get those things, but we're gonna go get a power steering pump for the Accord because we need that as well. And this thing should be tow ready today. So transmission's doing phenomenally. I'm happy with that. Can't complain. I'm gonna check the transmission for leaks when we get to AutoZone, but hopefully it's not leaking. So let's just cross our fingers. So other than that, let's get into the rest of the video. So I did end up getting the truck here. So I noticed, which I've got the fix for this stuff. So we're gonna do the timing again. There is, if you guys can see down right there, that leaks. I bought a cap for it. So I figured it was going to leak at some point. I just didn't expect it to leak right away. So I did get an actual thick cap to put over that fitting. And then we still need a turbo oil drain, which they are not easy to find locally. The kit is like $100 for that turbo. So I think I'm going to buy one for a 96. It's like $33 for one gasket, which is kind of insane. But yeah, I also got, I think I got a plug for that. So besides all that, I think those three things, and then this thing should be all set to just be driven. Oh, and we got to bleed the power steering. So that shouldn't be too hard. We'll get this thing up in the air and whatnot. By the way, what do you guys think of the stance of this thing? Look at that. See this? I can't wait to get wheels for this thing, because this thing, after like all this runs and drives, like I really want to just be able to play around with this thing. So I'm looking for, I want to take this exhaust, throw it on the white truck, and then go and get like I want to do like a 5-inch downpipe to a 6-inch stack again on this thing, because this is ultimately just, I don't know. I want to do things different on this thing, and then do the nice, clean OEM stuff on the white truck. So it's like, we'll get everything to work. Yeah, you can see the coolant dripping right there. So, but yeah, get everything like toy / work truck, and then more of a work truck with the 2-wheel drive, because the 2-wheel drive one just makes sense. Like everything 4-wheel drive is gutted on this thing, but it's still really, really heavy for what it is. Like this truck, I could probably make this thing weigh 9,500 to 10,000 pounds with the fuel tank and all the stuff I've added. So it's like that other truck realistically should only weigh like 8, maybe 7,500. And then we'll throw an auxiliary fuel tank in it to make it 8,500, but it's got an 11.5 GVWR. So this thing I think should get the fuel cleavers, 20x12s up front, you know, the thick boys out the back. Like you guys know I like my tires to poke. Like I wouldn't mind that shit sticking out to here. And then we'll take these wheels and tires. I'm saving these. These are going to go on the white truck when all said and done, and then I'll start running that one. But for what it is, I told you guys I do want to do the body work on this thing as well, but the problem is how cold it is in here. That thing says it's 43 in here, and it's definitely not 43 in here. So as for getting that done, I would absolutely love to, but it's just not going to make sense for me to do it in the wintertime. I know I said guys take a vote, but a lot of guys said just skip it now for the winter and just come back and work on it later. So not a big deal. But all said and done, I think this thing is pretty much almost done for what it is. Like, we got the custom drive shaft, we have the 2-wheel drive tranny, good 12 valve. Thing is tuned up a lot. And I mean, ultimately, it makes good power. I mean, it doesn't right now because of the timing slippage, so that kind of sucks. But besides that, I'm going to move this fuel tank. I'm going to move this forward about 6 inches because I do want to get a 6-inch stack for this. So if you guys have one, let me know. But then I need to go and buy a new exhaust as well, because I'm just going to, this exhaust is good, so I'm just going to save it and put it on the white truck that's up there. So, and I wonder if you guys can see it. Oh yeah, there she is. Look at that. Look at her. Right there, just in the distance. So, be patient. We will get both trucks built, and I know a lot of guys, I want to go over a lot of people's concerns, and I want to go over why a 12-valve swap makes sense. So basically, like, there was some concerns of, oh, you don't want a second truck just because of, like, insurance, maintenance, and all this stuff. And people got to realize, I got 5 vehicles right now and a trailer. And we own our home. So it's like, we have all this stuff that is just it's just there. And the only thing really not paid off is that trailer and my debt. But besides those two things, as we're paying stuff off, it's like here's why the 12 valve makes sense in this chassis, okay? I'm going to go over all the reasonings, and I'm going to go over all the BS that I've had to deal with these 24 valves. So first things first, paper logs. You guys knew I was going to mention it. With this engine, you can run paper logs. You do not run an ELD at all. You can't run an ELD, and DOT is 100% fine with it. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you're over 10,000 pounds or in between 80,000 pounds, it doesn't matter. The engine, per the FMCSA, if you have an engine that is pre-2000s, you may run paper logs, or you have to run paper logs because you can't run an ELD because it won't plug in. So that's number one. Two, cost of ownership is significantly cheaper. When a 24 valve breaks, it breaks the bank sometimes. Like I've had 6.7s break that cost me too much money. I've had 5.9s break that cost me too much money. You know what doesn't cost me a lot of money is this 12 valve. They're $1,500 to $2,000 around me, depending on what kind of condition you want them in. And you can get them around 200,000 miles. And they last hundreds of thousands of miles more. I put this thing through so much abuse. If I would have just left this thing stock, there's no reason I couldn't get at least 600,000 or 700,000 miles out of this motor. But I tuned it up, and it still holds. I never had head studs. I never had valve springs. I just would send it high EGTs. It's just the cost of ownership is so much cheaper. If a 5.9 breaks and you need a rebuild for just a piston ring, which I've had happen twice now, it's $5,100. This engine's $2,000. If I want a used Commonrail, it's the same damn price as getting one rebuilt. It's insane. So it just doesn't make sense. The injectors on them. So why I like the 12 valve is the simplicity and the cost of ownership. It's so much cheaper. I can afford to do cool builds, which is why we're going to be working on the white truck that's sitting up there. And I can afford to do it because I'm selling the factory engine. And that's pretty much going to pay for a swap and then some and be able to afford to do all this stuff. That's why this makes sense. And then YouTube on top of it pays for it. So it's like, if you add all that up, it's a lot cheaper to just do it that way. And that's another reason, like, people were saying you should throw this motor in that truck or this and that, or just run that truck as is. And guys, it would cost me probably $5,000 to get that white truck fully built and done the way I want it to. Because the people that complain about this thing, oh, it's not ready, you should work on it, get it done. Why would I rush the white truck when it's been sitting for so long? It's going to take too much money to put into it. So that's why we're taking it slow. But there is a lot of other reasons besides the cost of maintenance and all that. I mean, you can run waste oil. I've been running waste oil forever. All you got to do is clean the screens more often, and it's not a big deal. It just takes it. But yeah, so those are my main reasonings. There is a lot more reasonings why the 12 valve makes sense, but those are the main things. So cost of ownership, paper logs, simplicity. There you go. All right, so I went and bought these guys here for that coolant leak. So hopefully these work, but this is what I was recommended. These are thick. I wasn't expecting them to be that thick, so that's awesome. Like I said, that was just a temporary over there. And yeah, so let me know what you guys think. So I'm filming in here. You guys can see if I like move this just the right way. There we go. There we go. See that black line there? So if I move the camera in just the right way, the black line shows up. It's because of the cheap LED lighting in the shop. It just messes with the camera. I was told that if I moved it to like 30 frames per second, it might fix it, but I don't really mess with the settings on the GoPro too much. So I'm wondering, do you guys prefer the last clip where I just film on my phone and just use this for time lapses? How do you guys feel about that? Because I don't know, I'm kind of curious on who likes the Samsung or the GoPro? Like, vote down in the comments and let me know what you guys think. I know outside I prefer the GoPro because it has a wide lens and it's so small, but in the shop sometimes you get, see that black line? See that one? So sometimes you get that. This thing's awesome for time lapses and whatnot. The only issue, like, if GoPro, I don't even know if it's the GoPro's fault. It's just these batteries that kind of bought these batteries and whatnot, and it just seems to, like, it'll shut the screen off every now and again and just record sound. So I don't know if that, I'm pretty sure that's the GoPro's fault, but rather than just shutting off. over here enjoying my heat and whatnot. Working on getting, I don't know if they have a 10 out yet. I'm looking for, if they have a GoPro Hero 10 or even the 11, I'm gonna wait until one of the newer cameras come out. I'm gonna go ahead and buy the last one. So I'll probably buy a GoPro Hero 10 if they have one. Been using, ever since I started the channel, I've been using the GoPro. This thing is nice. So, I don't know, I like them. I'm not a fan of the camera quality of the phone, so just like I said, let me know. But yeah, let's get one of these caps on, and that should fix the coolant leak. You know, a lot of people do say a lot of negative things about the 12 valve, but I will tell you what, from my experience with this high mileage 12 valve, this thing has been stronger than my Commonrails. This thing has pulled a lot better than my Commonrail 5.9s on the low end. This thing would do more at 1600 RPMs that my Commonrail would barely do at like 2200, and never had EGT problems like the Commonrail did until I turned this up. I used to be able to, when I had the zero plate pushed in the back position with the HE351 and HE341, I was literally able to floor it at 1600 RPMs and it would hold its speed pulling a load up the mountain. So my Commonrail would never do that, and it was just terrible. So absolutely love the 12 valve. If I would put a Commonrail through the abuse that I do this, the Commonrail would die very easily. I've run this truck with no coolant in it. I've run this engine with very, very low oil, maybe a gallon of oil in it. It still runs. I've run it at 1800 EGTs every single day, pulling loads. You just can't argue facts at this point. Like, anything people have told me not to do, I've done to this engine, and it just does it. Now we're gonna see what it can do with head studs, and actually I feel like this is where the breaking point is, because the fact that I did head studs means that I'm gonna push it even farther, and maybe now I'll break it. But, I don't know. I had one Commonrail die at 155,000 miles, 3 cylinders, broken rings, ended up buying it like that. It was my first diesel, didn't know any better. That was years and years and years ago. Then this one died at 438,000. It broke the main compression ring in number 1. Kind of bullshit. For one broken piston ring. That was kind of BS. I had 2 6.7s. I had a 16.67 that dropped a valve at it was under 110,000 miles, just out of the factory warranty. And then I had another one, because there was a little bit of water in the fuel, it decided to lock up the last cylinder and literally weld the piston to the block. So screw 6.7s, screw Commonrail 5.9s. I love my 12 valves. I don't want a P-pump 24 valve. I don't want a P-pump 6.7. I don't want anything to do with either of those engines. They are so expensive when they break, and that's from my experience. I've literally lived through this and tested so many different trucks and realized this is the last thing I have to test in the Dodges. If this fails and lets me down, I mean, at this point I wouldn't be mad at it. But if a 12 valve can't handle what I'm wanting it to do, then there's nothing else in the Dodge world for me, and I should just move on to something else. But this 12 valve night and day has just done everything I need it to, and that's why I'm going to keep going. Because the only other engine that's going to be really good would be a 7.3 Power Stroke, and unfortunately I know a lot of people that complain about them. So it's like, this is literally the only engine in a pickup that I can really run that's simple, that's cheap, and it just works. So NV 5600 with a 12 valve, and possibly some 410 rears coming, but we shall see about that. So I feel like with the 33s, I don't know, with the 2-wheel drive trucks, I feel like the 410s might make a little bit more sense, but I don't know. My 2-wheel drive up there has 373s in it, so we'll see how that does on the highway as well. But with the bigger tires, I don't know, we'll try the 410s, so I can give you guys a real world review comparing. But I have noticed that with takeoff on this thing, since doing the governor springs again and doing all this, I can put this thing in 2nd gear, let the clutch out, and it just goes. Haven't tried 3rd yet, but for years, I could not accelerate from 2nd gear in this truck. So now that the governor springs are fixed, it just does it now. There, you guys can see it. Right there. So there was a fitting in there, but there's no way you can get a wrench on it because it's just a round fitting. So I tried to get it out, couldn't get it out, realized if I'm gonna do that, it's gonna end up really messing something up, so I decided we'll just get these caps and not have an issue. I decided to this was the temporary fix just to get it going, but apparently it leaked a lot. Would have been nice to be able to reuse that coolant, but the bucket had a little bit of shit in it, so I don't know. Maybe we'll throw some oil in the cooling system, but who knows. So yeah, let's move on to the next thing. Listen to this shit start up. Minty. So I thought maybe the timing slipped or some shit, and actually it didn't. I was able to verify with the pin and where I put the markings that we are, I'm gonna say we're at like 17, 18 degrees of timing right now, and yeah, so it didn't slip at all, so I'm gonna put all this back together. Good for me. Guys were saying, and it just feels like it has no power, so guys were saying that I didn't put enough clicks on the governor springs, so I'm gonna do one click on the governor springs and see how it acts. And then we got power steering coming and coolant coming, and then this thing is buttoned up, good to go, other than I got these oil drains on order, so there's the that, so we'll be able to adjust it and put that self-tapper in and it'll work fine. So other than that, let's get that taken care of. So if you guys ever hear that sound, that's because we got the torpedo heater going, so it's like, that's what's in the background. I love it because it makes people leave me alone. But there we go, there's number one for the governor springs. So like I said, I'm only gonna do one click because this thing runs so good down low and has absolutely nothing past like 1500 RPMs, and it only free revs to like 28. So people mentioned that. I remember this thing, when it's cold, it won't free rev past a certain amount, so that's what I thought. But now at this point, it's like, okay, something's definitely wrong, and it doesn't smoke at all anywhere after like 1200 RPMs. So that tells me it's not getting fuel, and we've already verified that the timing is correct. So it's good though, at least we're getting somewhere. So I'm gonna click this one, I'll click the other one, and then we'll go from there. All right, there we go. Like I said, I got one more click on it, so hopefully that makes a big difference. If one click doesn't do it, we'll do another one, but I'm gonna get this whole thing thrown back together, get my oil thing back on, and we'll see how it free revs. I'm gonna do the free rev test first, and if it doesn't like to, you know, do what it needs to do, then maybe I'll do one more click. All right, both governor springs are done. We'll get it fired up. I don't know if I really want to fire it up now or I want to wait, but I don't know. We need to do the power steering, so I'm gonna wait till he gets here so we can bleed the power steering, and then we got to get it less smoky in here. All right, here's a little red thing. God, did you hit something else with this tailgate? No. Cool. So this is gonna get some fine tuning. New AFC house. Did you get your AFC housing yet, or are we doing that tomorrow?
I'm in the mail. You told me to come.
All right, we'll get it today. Someone's, yeah. So we'll do some work on this today too.
And go on, do it.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't free rev past like 2K. This fire's pretty good. So I don't know. We'll I'm gonna try to get this thing warmed up a little bit.
Can I drive
from there? All right, so one click didn't seem to do much, or well, I mean it did, it raised the idle a little bit. So I'm gonna do one more click and hope that that's not too much, and it's like iffy. It would take off up to like 3,400, but it's not getting the fueling. It smoked one time and then that was about it. So I don't know what's going on with it. I'm gonna give it one more click. If that doesn't fix it, I don't know what to do at this point. All right, so his logic and my logic, we're kind of thinking the same thing. We don't think that there's enough pre-boost fueling. There is like no fuel at all, but once it lights, it lights. So this turbo is really big on the high VGT side, so we're gonna throw some pre-boost at it and see if that helps, and because it just has no power. So let's see if that works, and we're gonna adjust the idle, and I'm just gonna leave this, the governor springs where they were, because it starts up, it's happy, and I kind of feel like I need to give it a little bit more throttle now to kind of get it moving. So I might actually go back and loosen that back up. All right, so we're adding pre-boost again. That actually, when it lights, it just goes. So it definitely needs some more pre-boost. I hate to do it because I hate adding pre-boost, but I'm also gonna, when I do the governor springs, I'm gonna click it back one more because now it definitely wants to stall. So one click back on the governor springs and we're fine-tuned there, and then yeah, we're gonna add a little bit of pre-boost. So we'll do the governor springs probably another time, but it still starts up great, but I miss that when I let it out in second, it wants to pull a house down. Doesn't do that now. Oh, and there we go. All right, just for tuning purposes, we got the turbo in like the 3/4 position, which obviously, you know, it's only the beginning of it. So we'll get it going. If everything works out, then we'll do the governor springs when we get back. Come on, Josh, let's see. Let's see if we can't get this thing to light. Ooh. Look, let's see. No throttle. It starts fairly well. Unfortunately, gonna have to readjust the idle, but whatever. It's idling at 750. Man, I hate that power steering pump. Here you go, film it.
You sure that's not your brakes?
Power steering pump and the brakes are the same pump.
Seatbelts on for safety. See anybody on the right.
Here, let's see. See if I want to. When I used to let it out this morning, it would go. Now barely, but let's see. It still misses around like the middle. I don't know why. I mean, maybe it needs to warm up and like go through all its phases and shit, but I don't know. Like if I give it throttle right now, I can hear the turbo spooling, but the boost gauge isn't doing anything.
It's a 35.
What? What
it's
is
a 35.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we have head studs, so fuck it. I mean,
It doesn't respect the speed limit.
That'll be alright. It's a 45 here.
Is it?
No. 201, so we got time. Yeah, I don't know. A nice peak. Definitely has more power than it did, but I don't know what's going on with it. The boost gauge isn't going up at all, so either there's something wrong with the boost gauge or it's correct and we're not spooling. I'd like to say we're probably just not spooling, to be honest, because I had it before. I remember in the full open position it would not spool. So, I don't know. And we do have fuel pressure for anybody asking. It feels like good.
Good?
I mean, maybe we throw a little bit more pre-boost at it, but
I think get that turbo back down if you can. Oh Jesus.
I mean, it's moving now. I definitely feel like it could use more pre-boost, but I don't know. I mean, if I can't get this turbo to work right, like if I want to go with the VGT, like I want to get it to work mechanically, but it's like at the same time, is it worth it? I really love that VGT though, and I really want to get it to work. All right, so now we're gonna put the governor springs back where they were, and we're gonna do it out here so we stop leaking oil on the floor, because this thing leaks so much oil out the oil drain that you could do an oil analysis on the ground. So, unacceptable. Alright, well, his star wheel cap finally blew off, so he went and bought another one. So we're gonna transfer everything from that one to this one. So you can get these for 160 bucks, I think he said he paid for it. So we'll do the exact same from that one to this one. So, and yeah, star wheel thing's probably sitting back in there somewhere. All right, so here's his. You can see that whole inside of the housing is stripped. So I'm gonna make the transfer, switch everything over, and we'll go from there. But the only thing wrong is he just needs the star wheel. So we need pretty much this entire housing here. All right, so yeah, here's the new one that he just got, and it's already, like, it came like this, so we're swapping out his old stuff right here, so.
That's torn.
Yeah, here's the old spring.
If that explains what's wrong
here's
with
the
it.
new spring. This one.
Like, they sold it brand new.
Yeah, that wouldn't have worked.
That's not brand new.
Not brand new, but whatever, not a big deal. We'll get it swapped out and go from there. I got his old foot in, and his old parts were actually nicer than his new ones, so. All right, here's the new one. Here's the old one. Took all the parts off of it and put them on this one. So this hopefully works out. Mimicked the pre-boost. Basically everything that, you know, we did to the other one, we just moved to this one. This was not, yeah, that's junk. Get that out of here. So. Let's throw this thing back on, and let's just, did you know you can delete these? You can delete this.
I have no idea what it is.
It's called an AFC delete.
I hardly know what it is.
Basically, it just smokes like a mother. Terrible idea. Your foot is the AFC control now. Yes. I looked it up and I was like, wow, that's actually a thing.
Wow, that's not efficient at all. Let's do it.
Super efficient. It just smokes. Alright, so we're getting everything figured out. We just got his truck. Pretty good. We're working on this one now. So the coolant, we're getting that. The truck doesn't warm up. We have one oil leak, and we're slowly getting the boost situation figured out. I'm not sure if my boost gauge is actually working, because I know I took that off, but it might be broken because it just reads 0 in general, but you can hear the turbo spooling. So I gave it as much pre-boost as I could, and then it started smoking, so I kind of like dumbed it back. And then I started adjusting the star wheel. So I'm thinking this turbo is just really, really big for what we need. You guys can see in there, I kind of like just shoved a self-tapper screw in there just for now. I'm gonna see if somebody actually makes one of these and sells these in general, but if not, then we'll start getting to work on one of ours. But I'm kind of slowly figuring out how I wanna do this, and we'll, if nobody sells one, we'll just do a prototype of one and see if we can't figure something out. But other than that, this thing runs really, really well. It just hasn't warmed up like at all. So just trying to get the coolant bled now. So our brown coolant over there. So see if we can't get most of the air bubbles out. But we do have power steering now, and we do have brakes. So that's good. So we only have one oil leak to figure out, and then everything is all said and done, good to go. We don't have any issues, and battery terminals, of course. So all right, so we are, let me know down in the comments what you guys want to see with this red truck, but we're going to be doing drop shackles on this thing this week, and I also got drop shackles for the white truck at some point once we start, you know, tearing into the motor and stuff. Pretty sure I got this motor over here sold, so it is a complete motor. It does come with a turbo. I forgot, I have so many of these turbos, I might as well just throw this one with it. It's a stock turbo from an 0304. So yeah, so that'll be going with the engine. So figure complete motor. This, I hate the black lines. So this, I just need to do a coolant flush yet and let it, you know, do its thing. Not flush, but like let it bleed overnight. So I'll just let it sit there. Maybe some air bubbles will come out, maybe not. We'll start it in the morning. Let it sit in the shop. We'll drive the Accord home because we just did a power steering pump. But yeah, so we'll be pulling a tranny in this tomorrow, and it'll be another fun time. So done a lot these past couple weeks. Absolutely. I've done 2 P pumps. I've done 2 transmissions, an engine, and now we'll be doing another transmission tomorrow. Yes, sir. Oof. And I've done governor springs more than 5 or 6 or 7 times. So you're learning. Yes. Learning things, getting better at things. Did valve adjustments, head studs, valve springs on the exhaust side. I revved this out to about 3,400 earlier, and I was like, okay, that's scary. I'm not going to do that ever again. So we got the pre-boost adjusted. I got the star wheel adjusted. So other than that, hope you guys enjoyed. That's going to do it for this video. Appreciate you guys. See you in the next one. Bye. Oh, you need to start that. What?